a new update on the U.S. non-compete ban. And this is an update that employees might like. So backing up, in April, the FTC, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, issued its rule banning non-competes in the U.S., but it doesn't take effect until September 4th. Now, right after the rule came out, there were court cases challenging it. There's right now 2 active cases. One is in Texas. It's by a company called Ryan LLC that's suing the FTC, saying, hey, you don't have legal authority to issue this. Only Congress could do this. And so it's challenging it in court. And a number of business groups have all joined on. It's a pretty big case. And a few weeks ago, or on July 3rd, the court there, Judge Ada Brown, who's a President Trump appointee, she agreed with Ryan LLC and issued a preliminary injunction just for Ryan LLC. And it was a little bit unusual, not like a broad nationwide injunction to all employers or even now all of those business groups joining on. And in part because she's now said that, she's already said that the FTC rule, the non-compete ban, is likely to get struck down. But this is like a hold on until I make a final legal decision. And she said that she will make a decision on the merits, so basically the overall legality of the ban, by August 30th. So a lot of people and legal experts expect that on August 30th, this Texas judge will issue a decision that the non-compete ban is struck down, so it will not take effect September 4th. But there's the other case, and that's the update. So a case in Pennsylvania is different. So this one isn't by a bunch of big business groups. This is by one 12-employee tree company, ATS Services, that's suing, saying, hey, we need this to be able to keep our employees, our tree cutters, and we provide them so much training. In their initial complaint, they say that they need it, the non-compete ban, in part because they treat people like family. Anyway, this case is before Judge Kelly Brisbane Hodge, who's a President Biden appointee. Well, she just issued a decision denying the motion for preliminary injunction by the ATS. What that means is she's saying, no, 2 things. One is you haven't shown that you'd be damaged enough by this non-compete ban taking effect, so you haven't shown the legal standard. But then also she says that likely the FTC's rule is likely allowed to go forward, that the non-compete ban can take effect. So she's basically hinting at an opposite ruling from the Texas court. Now, why did she say this? Well, in part for ATS. They didn't do themselves a lot of favors if you look at what happened in the oral argument where they go before the judge, and it's basically the small business saying, like, we need this. And some of the things they said is, we need you to halt this ban because it would hurt us too much. Judge is like, okay, tell me why. One of the things they cited were costs, saying that it would cost them because one of the things that's required in the FTC's rule is that employers notify their employees, like your non-compete's no longer valid, if this takes effect in September. And in the rule, they have a model, like a template that employers can use. So I don't know how ATS calculated this, but when the judge is like, tell me what it would cost for you to send this notice that you say is such a hardship, they said $27.78. They're like, but also we got to look at our contracts and look at our contract processes. That's going to cost us. Judge is like, how much? What they said was like about $1,100 or $1,200, like just over $1,000. And the judge is like, no, that's not enough. They're like, we're also afraid we're going to lose employees. And the judge was like, well, you haven't shown evidence of that. And again, not surprising that employees wouldn't want to sign some legal document saying, I would leave this business if I didn't have my non-compete. Like, it's unlikely someone's going to have that. But the judge was like, no, you haven't shown actual harm. So no, we're denying it. But then also more notably for probably the vast majority of people watching this video is that she basically seems to have a different opinion saying that the FTC likely does have authority. So she's not issuing that stay. So what this is called is a circuit split. So Texas and Pennsylvania, you have judges that'll have different opinions. So my guess is that ATS Tree Services will likely appeal. So in federal court, the next is the Court of Appeals. Then beyond that is the Supreme Court. So if both these cases get appealed and, the party that loses appeals, this ultimately ends up in the Supreme Court. Well, the Supreme Court right now is pretty conservative, which tends to side with businesses. So the legal experts that have looked at this, the vast majority from the studies I've seen have said they expect this non-compete ban to get struck down. And so how that could play out is in August 30th, that the Texas judge, Judge Brown, when she issues her merits decision, that she could say, this FTC does not have authority, this is struck down nationwide. But then, okay, how does that come into play if you have the circuit split? Again, that's where you appeal. But people ultimately would likely expect the Supreme Court to side with the businesses, just historically. You never know before the Supreme Court. But also the election can affect it. So in presidential elections, If now Vice President Harris were elected, then it's likely that her FTC and her would continue to push for this non-compete ban, similarly to President Biden. But if Donald Trump were reelected as president, then more people would expect his FTC may say, I don't know about this. We'll see. And I personally don't think I've seen a statement on what his platform of like what he would do about this ban. But again, it wouldn't be surprising if he walked it back. So this is where it could get impacted by the courts and ultimately struck down by the courts, but also with the presidential election. But so right now, the next thing is we'll see what ATS Tree Services does if they appeal. But on or before August 30th, Judge Brown in Texas will issue her decision in the Ryan LLC versus FTC case about whether she will strike down the non-compete ban. That's, again, scheduled to go effect September 4th, unless the court decisions decide otherwise. So that's the latest updates.